Welcome to Commercial Kitchen Chronicles, a podcast dedicated to commercial food equipment repair industry. My name is Pat Finley. I'm a lead master certified technician at General Parts Group and a certified successor trainer. Our goal is to shine a light on what we believe to be one of the most interesting and rewarding industries a field service technician can work in. We love the work we do, and we are glad you're listening to this podcast. In this episode, we have Aiden Divelbiss. Tonight, I'm joined by Jason Latimer and very special guest, Aiden Divelbiss. I said it right, I hope.
Absolutely.
So what's going on, Aiden? How you been, man?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm going to school for HVAC at the University of Northwestern Ohio, so just kind of taking my classes and getting through it.
Nice. Jason, how's work been for you this week, buddy?
Works pretty good. Steady. Team's doing well. No complaints. Customers are happy. It's all you can wish for.
Yeah, it's been kind of weird, man. We were slow, and then like all of a sudden Monday was like a 13-hour day. Tuesday was like 13 and a half, 14-hour day, and then today was like 11. And I was like, what happened to the slow period?
Yeah.
So I'm excited for it, though. You know me, I work way too much, overcommit, and that's just the story of my life.
Overcommit, but you always come through.
Yeah. I like to say under promise and over deliver. So you can't go wrong that way. So I've known Aiden for a little bit on Instagram. We've been back and forth for a couple of years now. Actually met him in person at AHR last year, and he's a pretty cool kid. He's going to school, like he said, for HVAC at the University of Northwestern Ohio. He's doing some work at a water and wastewater treatment facility, I believe, right?
So I actually work for a contractor that we do everything water. So we travel everywhere from water, wastewater, environmental. We do some water districts out in California, like irrigation. I've been to paper mills, steel mills. If you need water measured or sampled, we can figure out how to do it.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's neat getting paid to travel to go see some really cool places. And we do some cool work helping keep wastewater flow. The plumbers get it to us, and then we figure out what to do with it from there.
So you're just involved in all different kinds of stuff, man.
Tons of stuff.
So you do track meets. So you do like timing. Is that what it is? You do timing. You're a timing official for the state of Ohio.
Well, so I work for a timing contractor, and I work for a couple, depending on who's. And then I also have my official's license, so I officiate. Coming up, I have like my biggest meet so far, the Big Ten Conference Championship coming up in February, which I'm really excited for that I'll just be officiating, not timing. Which it's nice to kind of like step back almost, because when you're timing, there's a lot of stress that has to happen. Everything has to run perfect, versus when you're an official, you get to kind of just watch the meet and, if you have to make calls, but a little bit less.
That's cool. So, we start following each other. You do a lot of you interact with a lot of HVAC people, and I didn't realize you were as young as you were when I first started following you. I think you were probably 16 back then. And
when I started, I was a freshman in high school.
Yeah, that's what I thought. You were pretty young. But I mean, you just seem to gravitate towards the HVAC trade. And what kind of how'd that happen?
So I knew kind of that trades were the way that I wanted to go, just because of didn't want to sit behind a desk every day. Like, I wanted to get to do some different stuff, and I kind of found that the trades were a cool option for that. You can make a decent amount of money with, like, I'm doing a 2-year degree, and I'll be able to make a decent amount of money. But I liked HVAC because, like, electrical, you do wires, and plumbing, you do pipes. And with HVAC, kind of what you guys do is I get to see all kinds of different stuff. I mean, and there's even within the different systems, like electrical, it's all, like I said, wire stuff, but sometimes it's steam, sometimes it's air conditioning, sometimes it's furnaces, sometimes it's gas fitting and plumbing and pipe fitting and humidification and air quality. And there's so many different things that you can do.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting, trade, and Jason and I, we focus mainly on the kitchen stuff. It's just like a little bitty part of it, but I never really considered myself an HVAC tech. I started talking to some other guys. I'm like, well, yeah, it is kind of all in the same thing. So instead of using heat to heat the air or heat water, we're heating food, or we're using refrigeration to pull the heat out of products and stuff. So it's it's all kind of the same basic thermodynamics. It's just we just happen to focus on a little sector and kitchens and restaurants and all kinds of stuff. So it's been a heck of a journey, though. I mean, I've loved watching you kind of grow up the last few years and interact with all the people, and it was cool to finally get to meet you. And as long as you stay out of trouble, so you guys stay away from some of these guys next week, and you'll be all right, I think.
Yeah, I stick with Uncle PS, and he gets me to and from where I need to go.
Dude, he is like one of the nicest guys I've ever met in the world, man.
And
who's that?
Chris Armstrong, PS the plumber.
Oh, okay.
And if you look at him, I mean, he's got tattoos all down his arms, and if you look at him, he just looks like an angry old plumber. But I mean, getting to meet him, and I mean, he treats me like one of his own, and he always makes the joke that he's like my stepdad or my uncle, because like he's watched me grow up over this whole. He's like one of my best friends, and I can call him any time of the day or night. And like in Atlanta, I was freshly 18, and I'm like, I'm scared to go walk down the street. Not that Atlanta's any, but I'm in a big city by myself for the first time. And he was like, "Come on, kid, I'm taking you home. We're gonna make sure you get back to your hotel." So he was walking me home every night.
So, are you going to be at the tactical awards?
Absolutely.
So, it's Jason's first year. It's going to be my third year. I'm super excited to go.
My second.
Yeah,
Nice.
I'm presenting the award I won last year. So me and Viking are going to be up on the stage, talking and giving away an award. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see all my friends catch back up with, new friends, old friends. And then this GE after party is looking like it's going to be something else. So
the guys at GE I've talked to my contacts there, and they've said that it's going to be a pretty neat party.
So Monday morning may be a little rough. I know Jason said he's not going to be there bright and early, so
I'll be walking in the door at 8:00.
I'll be there soon. Well, I'm not sure if I can get in for my press pass. Jason, did you ever get your press pass?
Nope. I did get an email about it, but I just never showed up. I don't know.
I'll pick them up Sunday, but yeah, I'm not sure if I can get a press pass. You got a vendor pass though, don't you?
I got a vendor pass. Yeah, I got exhibitor vendor, whatever you want to call it, through one of my contacts. Because I only get one day this year due to school. They would only let me have one day, which my teacher's never been. And I was like, you need to go, like, especially with the changes going on in this industry. HVACR is such an essential event for this industry.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're not just talking themselves up when they say it is the event for HVACR. I mean, it is like nothing else.
Yeah, I'm doing 3 days there, and then I'm coming back, and I'm gonna do Thursday and Friday at Wet, because Wet's in Indy, and I'm in Indy. I'm just north of Indy, so I'm gonna go down and hang out with Rigid and some of the plumbers and stuff that are down there.
I really wish I was able to make it. My company was actually going to have a booth at Wet this year, Lower 48 Instruments, for our line of samplers. We have vacuum samplers. And we're the exclusive dealer for them, so we were going to set up a booth. But if I was able to go one day, my boss was going to cover Friday, but because of school, it just didn't work out.
Yeah, you gotta get that knowledge in first.
Yeah, for sure.
So, what made you go the trade school route? Just you wanted to go that way, or you just didn't want to come out and go straight to work? Or
I wanted. I worked a lot in high school, and I kind of wanted a little bit more time to just not hang out, but have a little bit more time before jumping straight into the way I like what my school has to offer, which is you get an associate's degree out of it. So I'll at least have a little bit of a step up. I'm just saying in the future, if I go to apply for a job, it doesn't hurt to have an associate's degree. Will never hurt me. You know what I mean? And they had a test for seniors in high school. It was like you could take a test in each of their programs they offer, and I scored the highest on this test, and that got me a $20,000 scholarship, which covers 80% of my tuition. Nice. So our classes are every 6 weeks, and I pay like $100 every 6 weeks to cover my costs, which I was like, that's not bad at all.
Can't beat that. So I like that route. I'm not against, there's this big stigma that trades guys are against college, and I'm not. Everything has its place, and I like the route you're going. And Jason, you went kind of similar route too, didn't you?
Yeah, I have I started out with wanting to get a Class A building engineering degree, so I got an associate's in facility maintenance engineering, and then I have an associate's in HVACR. So you're doing it right, man. It is I mean, at the end of the day, you could do 9 months and get a diploma or certificate, or you can get an associate's degree. The employer wants to know that you got your EPA license and that you invested in yourself, and that you took the initiative, and you're not going to show up and kill yourself for the most part. So absolutely. All that, because I showed up with they had me do like a career thing, like a little booklet. I showed up and was like, here's my career portfolio from college. He showed it, and he's like, oh, great, you don't know shit. He's like, but you did invest in yourself, and he's like, that's great. You don't have any bad habits. We're going to show you how we want things done. So it turned out really well. So
That's nice.
I did enjoy the whole experience of the college and everything like that. So you're doing it right. Take your time.
Yeah, that's good to hear. I took vocational school for electrical. I wanted to be an electrician when I, was 15 years old, and I did that for quite a few years before I got into this. But it was fun. I mean, just vocational school. I mean, it wasn't an associate's degree or anything like that. It was just vocational school during high school. It was just kept me from sitting in a classroom for half the day. I was out wiring houses or doing some maintenance stuff at the school. It was pretty cool. So I like that route, though. It also gives you a chance to really learn about it before you get into it. And I think that gives you a little bit of a head start to some of the other green guys. As soon as they come out, they don't know anything, and you may know, you're probably going to know quite a bit. I know we were talking earlier, and you said right now, they're talking about boilers, and
I'm sorry not to cut. I mean, I know more than some of the stuff my teacher is teaching. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have more advanced knowledge of some of the stuff that's going through that I'm like, well, why didn't you cover that? That should have been. Or there's times that I'm like, well, that's not exactly wrong, but it's not exactly correct either. And obviously, I'm not going to call them out on it, but I'm like, you really should be teaching this in a much different way. Not to call out my teachers, but there are just certain things that I'm like, that's not. You know what I mean? There's different ways.
So
things.
So what you're saying is, did you get some of this extra knowledge on your own from reading, from experience, or?
So kind of a little bit of both. So my high school was a rural high school. We graduated about 100 kids every year, so not tiny but not huge. And I was open enrolled there because I went to the big public school for a while, and it was just so many kids and wasn't getting a grade. So I moved out to South Range, which is a rural school, and quickly somebody figured out I was good with computers. So I went to help in the auditorium with running lights and sound for shows. Well, then they're like, that got me to introduce to the facilities director. And I was like, oh, I'm kind of looking into some different stuff. And he was able to get me like a job shadow type thing with our HVAC guy from Johnson Controls. And then after that, I was able to help out with little things here, there. And I would do everything from running the scoreboard for different events at the football field to doing stuff in the auditorium, helping to, redo our sound system and stuff. If it was going on at the school, I was probably, for not being officially involved in anything. I wasn't in any clubs. I wasn't in any sports. I was at more events than anyone else at my high school. It was funny that they've asked me, they're like, what are we going to do now that you're not here? And I said, I don't know. I tried to train people and nobody wanted to step up. So I was like, I get calls from them every once in a while and they're like, hey, how do we do this? Or how do we do that? And I'm like, okay, I'll talk you through it. Yeah. But I got to see some of the behind the scenes stuff. Like the whole school's geothermal. It's a K-12 complex. It's all run on geothermal, and it's a huge system. Like the circulators for it are 20 and 30 and 40 horse motors, which those are big motors. And so getting to see some of that bigger, almost industrial HVAC was really neat to have some background on that. As most of these people in my class have only had light residential experience. Getting to see some of that real big stuff was neat. Very specialized.
That's cool.
That's dope, man. I've only read about geothermal for properties in school. You did it. Your whole school was based on that?
So yeah, we have under our practice football field is our wells. We have like 200 something wells that go really far down. Mm-hmm. And so throughout the summer, we pump heat into that ground, and we're able to get the loop up to about 70 degrees almost. So that's hot for geothermal. And then what we'll do is we have like our big ventilation units that suck out the air exchangers that pull the air out and push the air in. That we're able to preheat it or pre-chill it with that water through coils. And then we have little heat pump, just compressors that are using refrigerant to water to heat and cool that air. But through the shoulder seasons, like spring and fall, we pay almost nothing for heating and cooling because that loop temperature is able to be right about where we need it. It's super efficient because like in the start of winter, that stuff is super hot, so it's able to pull heat out easily. And then summer, it's super cold, so we're able to push heat into it really easily. And we heat and cool that entire K-12 complex for pennies. And it's really nice, not only from it's neat to see, but it's really efficient, really good for the environment. And down the road, if they would ever want to do any kind of solar or anything like that, that would be able to make the school almost entirely. I mean, our hot water still comes from natural gas and our fryers and stuff, but I mean, the majority of the building could be done on solar, which I think is pretty cool.
That's extra green. I love it.
Yep, that's nuts. That's pretty cool. I don't know. I know bare minimum about geothermal. It's nothing in my realm really, but just just reading about it, seeing it in articles and stuff, it always piques my interest. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was really neat.
Sweet. So, what are some things you're wanting to get into, like as far as like in the field? Is anything in particular that really catches your eye or strikes you as something you want to focus on, or maybe a niche or a corner you want to go into, or you just want to do as much as possible?
Really as much as possible, and then I want to head towards education eventually. I see some real gaps in the training available in this field that I've found personally. Like I've wanted to do, like some online class on just like little bits, and I have a question about these types of controls. So some little like hour-long class or something, and it's just not out there, or like basics, and then like getting into more advanced stuff that it's either a YouTube video that doesn't explain it very well, or it's some class that costs $1,000 to do. And I'm like, my main goal is for people who are like apprentices that want to learn more, but their company isn't huge on investing in education. They can do, $20, $30 for an hour long. So I want to create something like that to help future apprentices. And I really want to teach, because there's a lot of people in this industry that I feel could be a lot better techs if it weren't for just it's not that they're intentionally doing anything wrong. It's just they don't know any better because they've been taught by, and another big thing is like, if you're being trained by somebody, like an old head, somebody that's been around for a while, don't tell them that they're wrong, but also don't take everything they say as absolute gospel. Because I see a lot of guys doing that, and just bad habits, just, like things you used to be able to get away with on less efficient, just equipment that just kind of moved along, versus this newer stuff needs a lot more attention paid to it, and a lot better procedures and practices in place that they really need to focus on, that these old guys just aren't putting in the effort to. And then these kids think, oh, well, this is how this guy did it, and that's how I'm going to do it forever.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in the industry. I don't know if a lot of these guys want to learn, or they don't want to learn, or if it's just laziness. I mean, it's all different kinds of things that go on, and it's kind of weird. But I mean, like you said, some of the stuff needs to be affordable for the guys that want to learn, that really can't really, afford to spend the thousands of dollars and take classes and some of the stuff. So I like that idea.
Yeah,
something Aiden said in regards to, I think I've been in all the places I've worked, I've been told, or I've heard somebody say, forget what you learned in school, this is the real world. And that has ticked me off more than anything, that somebody takes the time to understand the theory and the behind what we're doing, and then someone says this is the real world, forget all that. And then you find all these bad habits where they're not recovering, they're not they're not doing a vacuum, all these little bad habits just to cut corners, just to end their day quickly so they can get home. And then it just creates this generational curse, I'd say, with all the new techs that come in over time, and then it just keeps getting trained that way. I'd really like to see that broken off and separated, and just companies need to let some of the guys that are, and I get it, you want to put some of the new guys with the seasons guys, but you got to know who those guys are with those habits, and let them work their way into the pasture, and connect some of the newer guys with people who are following these procedures and following the theory and stuff like that.
Absolutely. And I see one big thing coming is the transition to low GWP refrigerants with A2Ls on the horizon. I mean, they're here. They are. And there's this talk about they're flammable and they're going to blow up, whatever. I've looked at all of the data that's out there. Not all of it, but all of the stuff from the major manufacturers about how flammable it is and stuff. And it's not much more than 410A. I mean, you shouldn't be they're like, oh, you can't unsweat compressors anymore. Well, you really shouldn't have been doing it in the first place. Or like, make sure you sweep with nitrogen before you unsweat something. Well, you should have been doing that make sure it's recovered fully. Again, they're acting like things that we should have been doing this whole time are these brand new concepts that I'm like, that just, you know what I mean? Oh God, the recovery bucket.
So us kitchen guys are not too worried about A2L, because we've been dealing with A3s for a while for the
with
propane,
isobutane and
butane.
propane.
Yeah, I mean, like everyone makes a big deal, and I'm like, I just laugh. I'm like, you guys new here or what? I'm like, that's nothing.
They just
I
got to
heard-
the party, man.
I
Yeah,
heard somebody say press fittings with A2Ls, if there's a fire in the house, they're going to be like flamethrowers shooting out foot-long flames.
Yeah.
I'm like, first off, no. Second off, if the whole fitting is engulfed in flames, there's bigger problems than what that fitting is going to do. You know
the
what I mean?
fitting.
Like,
So, man, I've been a huge proponent for RLS. I have RLS. I've done stuff
love
with them,
RLS.
and I've got RLS fittings on my R290 cooler out here. I just did it because I wanted to do it because like it's not approved for it technically, but I was like, I'm gonna do it. If it leaks out, hey, I'll let them know, hey, it leaked, but I haven't had a problem. It's been rocking and rolling for over a year with it. The whole press thing, it just blows my mind. These guys, the things they say. I'm like, I've been in
Hulk smash.
Hulk smash.
I mean,
I've been in so many conversations with guys that is like putting it down. You go in the supply house and you ask for the fittings, all the old guys around looking at you like you're an idiot. And I'm like whatever, you can drag that torch up on the roof. I ain't going to. I'm gonna drag this press gun weighs as much as my drill, pipe cutter, reamer, deburrer.
I was told by a teacher, and again, another thing with the reaming and deburring, that they're like, oh, well, now with the press fittings, you got to ream and deburr and really clean it. I'm like, again, you should have been doing it in the first place.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same thing you should have been doing the whole time.
And actually, I have to say, it's improved my pipe prep as a whole, because I don't care whether I'm pressing it or not. I'm gonna cut it with sandcloth, with the open net sandcloth. I'm gonna use my rigid reamer and deburrer. And then even if I'm soldering or brazing, I'm going to Scotch braid it too, just because that makes sure that joint, regardless of whether it's press, solder, or braze, it's not going to leak if you prep it like that. And that's the thing that these guys just don't get, is like that you don't have to. It just blows my mind with the. And I was told by a teacher that they're still new. I told him, I said, first off, I forget what the number that I texted Paul Schubert about this, that the how many number of press fittings are out in the world. And also they've had, I believe at their headquarters, a system running on press fittings for like 20 something years now. And I was like, you're saying they're new. Most systems don't last 20 years to be like, if you get 20 years out of a system, who cares if it has a leak? Like, that's end of life anyways.
Yeah, 20 years. I mean, systems aren't lasting 20 years anymore.
No.
But yeah, I think there's like 18 million presses out there or something for RLS alone. So, I mean, and there's other ones coming to the market, but I mean, I've dealt with RLS. I really like the
RLS is the original, and I will stick with them for refrigerant. I'm interested in the Mueller Streamline with the double O-ring, but still, I just, RLS has the most experience with them. And even if Viga comes out with one, I still would be hesitant. No, I mean, not that I don't trust Viga, but if it's been around the longest, it has. And I was saying, like, if the Gen 1 fittings lasted for 20-something years, as they're continually making improvements, I mean, these new ones are going to last well beyond the life of a system. You know what I mean? If you're that long, I mean, if 20 years is the Gen 1, how much more research has gone in and how many more improvements have happened?
Oh, yeah, it's nuts. And, she put Jessica put a video out this week talking about their not testing, but their Q quality assurance stuff. And it's just amazing. Like, if they find like one fitting, they check every single one, and it goes to speak for, they stand behind their fittings, and they know that the importance of that fitting lasting its lifetime is number one goal.
And even beyond the fittings or the jaws, I've been to the rigid factory in Elyria, and I've seen where the jaws come from, and how many fittings they throw in the scrap pile just to make sure they press them with their tool, make sure that they fit, in the correct go no go gauge, and how the multi-point inspections and how tight their tolerances are, and their press innovation center, where they have a whole nother set of milling machines just for the innovation people to find better ways of doing things. And she was like, if one of those jaws has a slight imperfection, they will hold the entire batch and make absolutely sure that there is no problem with them. And that's another reason why I choose the rigid tools, is because they're made in Ohio, where I'm at, but also they are so absolutely tight on their tolerances.
Yeah, they just invested, I forget how many million they said, into their own testing facility, so they don't have to send stuff out now. They can do it all in house. Before they were subbing it out, sending it out to have people test, certify everything, and now they just do it all in house because it's faster and easier. If they have something they want to test, they can do it themselves, and That just shows that Rigid stands behind their stuff. So it's a pretty good relationship Rigid has with RLS.
So Pat, believe it or not, I've never even held one of those press tools before. We don't have any where I'm at, so I'm looking forward to trying these out, because you were saying that there's going to be some demos at the different booths. So I'd like to pop that. Yeah,
I can get you in. We'll have some fun at Vega. We'll have some fun at RLS for sure.
Cool.
I know I can get us into there and do some stuff. So you've got a wild few days ahead of you. It's going to be busy. I hope you got great shoes, comfortable shoes, because you're going to burn through some steps.
When I say AHR was the craziest 3 days of my life, I'm not even lying to you. It was absolutely nuts. I mean, it is nonstop from when you walk onto the floor till you go to the parties after, and then the after parties. You know what I mean? Like they are. It's a crazy couple days.
Me and Hugh, virgins.
Yeah, we need to have a post AHR just hang out and
a press party.
Yeah,
literally.
Well, I mean, like after we can like regroup and like we can talk. We can have like
a debrief.
Yeah, well, I want to have Ryan on.
After action report.
I want to have Jen on. So I don't know if we just do like a little cross branding with the Misfits people, and we just have like a little stream or something we could talk about. But yeah, it's going to be a blast. You're going to have fun. You're going to see a lot of stuff. You're going to want to spend a lot of money. So your wife may hate me for this.
Hey, but remember, there's no sales on the show floor, so you don't have to worry about that until after.
Well, Vito.
Unless you're talking about Vito.
Vito sells on the floor, but I'll have my own Vito backpack. I won't be able to bring anything else home, so I don't think Jason will either. So
I will. I still am rocking my HVAC tactical backpack from last year, and I was like, the only thing that will replace this is a Vito EDC bag. Well, now I'm gonna have a Vito EDC HVAC tactical bag. So
yeah, it's gonna be sweet. That's worth the ticket price right there, man.
It's well over. I was talking to my boss, and he's like, "Can I still get a ticket for this event? You just bring me the bag back." So,
I always get two because my wife always goes with me. So
yeah,
I always get two. So the first year I got two black ones. Last year I got two green ones. I ended up giving one to my buddy Curtis from RLS. He's actually my salesman for my area. And he didn't get to go to the show, so I gave him Kelly's bag. This year, it's gonna be hard pressed to give that extra Vito EDC bag.
Sure.
Hey Pat, I'm not spending any money this year. This year it's my first year I'm window shopping. Next year it's in Orlando. That's like 45 minutes from my house. Next year I'm loading up my vehicle and trucking it all home.
We're already planning for next year. I'm gonna get a condo. I got a condo.
My wife's down. My wife says she's down, dude.
Jason's like, "Oh, I live 45 minutes away. I'll just go home." I was like, "Dude, there's no going home from what we'll be doing." I was like,
"No, 45 minutes is way too far away."
No, it's Uber home from the stuff we're gonna be doing Monday and Tuesday night. So you were in for some fun. So let's get back to Aiden. So
sorry, Aiden.
It's a 2-year program. Is that what you're in? Correct? 2 years.
Yes.
So this is your going to the second semester then?
We actually do 6-week blocks. 6-week classes, and I started. My first one was a set of gen eds, and then I've started into my HVAC classes, and then I'll finish out with gen eds.
Cool. That's awesome, man. I look forward to seeing you get it all finished up. I'm sure. Not sure where you're going to end up, but I'm sure you'll have something lined up by the time you're done, knowing you.
Yeah, I already have some possible things in the works. I have a couple of intriguing offers that are not. Well, I don't want to say not things I want to do long term, but they would get me in the right place to do what I really want to do, which is what I was saying, like teaching. Some might do something. I got some stuff in the works.
Nothing's ever permanent, though. I mean, you can always use this career to step into a different role. I mean, there's so many different careers outside of just being a technician. I mean, like you said, you can be an owner, you can be a teacher, you can be a project manager, you can go into facilities. It's so encompassing the things that this job can lend itself to and get you into. So.
Oh, my facilities director, Dean Pagnotta, back at my old high school, was like, okay, go get a couple years in the field, go get your water distribution license through the state, and then slide right into my job. And I was like, well, Dean, you got to come to this nice brand new building because they had just built the school. By the time you're ready to leave, I'm going to get all the problems. He was like, that's when I'm planning on sliding out the door and you sliding in here. I was like, okay, maybe.
That's funny. So sweet. So what are you looking forward to the most in the next couple of years of school?
Just learning more about this trade. The big thing with going to school is like I have a lot of that the book knowledge, but getting a lot more of the hands-on experience is definitely what I'm looking forward to getting more of.
Sweet. So what hat are you wearing there?
Got my Centrotherm hat on.
Mine's over here. I got a hat rack, dude. I need a hat rack. I got a pile of hats. And
I need one too. It's so hard to decide. I absolutely love these guys. This is I'm big on safe venting. I actually had a friend who got very ill because of carbon monoxide poisoning, and that really, you hear about it, but when it happens to someone you're close to, it really changes how you look at that. And so I carry a little Honeywell clip CO detector, and it stays on my backpack. And then whenever I switch over to carrying my Vito, it goes on the Vito, and then comes back to anywhere that I am. That CO detector comes with me, whether it's in a pocket or it's clipped onto a bag, just because it's so you don't even realize the places. Like I know, I believe it was Mick Plum on Instagram showed he was going to like change out a toilet valve or something in a factory that had a bunch of forklifts, and it was on his bag and it started beeping. And he was like, hey, it was over 35 parts per million. He's like, a couple hours exposure. This is not good.
It was a supply house. It wasn't even a factory.
It was a supply house? Oh, yeah.
Supply house,
okay.
And it was going off.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I couldn't remember where it was, but yeah, he was saying he was going into work on something and brought it in with him, and it started going off, and he was like, that's, people don't realize because it's odorless, it's colorless. You don't know that you even have symptoms until it's almost too late. And by the time you're, nausea and throwing up, you're well on your way to some real damage, and that's something I just never want to risk. And for you can get the Honeywell BW clips are $100 from PK Safety, and they last for 2 years. Sealed sensor, you don't have to service them or anything. They're good for 2 years, and they're a tool that I believe everyone should carry. I know I heard a story on Bill Spone's podcast. I believe it's his podcast, where he said that him or somebody he knew, I can't remember the exact details, was in a hotel room, and at 3 a.m. it started going off like at a high level alarm. The pool heater in the mechanical room next to them started backdrafting, and was going off on like high alarm and I'm like, that's what scares me is being somewhere that I'm not used to, and middle of the night, that's the worst time for it because you're already sleeping. And then it's a very silent killer. And I believe with things like safe venting solutions, PVC is not what it's all cracked up to be for venting.
No,
it pulls the acidity pulls out part of the binders in the PVC, and then you could be, let's say you're walking through your basement or whatever, and you bump into it 10 years after it's been installed, it'll shatter. It just absolutely shatters. And it is also another thing people don't realize, and this is not just me being picky about other things, but if you read the proper installation procedures for PVC venting, you have to let your glue dry for 24 hours before you put any flue gases through it, and no one does that. Versus with Centrotherm, it's gasketed. You lube up that gasket, slide it together, and you have a perfect sealed system ready to go immediately.
Yeah, their product's pretty slick. I'm looking forward to Miami coming up. I know you're going to be there, aren't you?
No? School. It didn't work out with school.
Oh.
I know. I tried, and Matthew's going to try and call my teacher, and I'm like, he already just, I didn't want to push it. And I'm like, this, it really sucks, but yeah, it's not going to work out.
Yeah, I'm on call that week. Luckily, it's a 3-day thing, so my son's going to cover my on-call during the week, and hopefully they don't bombard him while I'm gone. But
I will be pulling up with them to the tactical, where it's got some bright green glasses and ties, going all out for.
Nice. So we got nothing going on in the comments. It's a pretty quiet night tonight, man. It's been a rough week. I've been working a bunch, and just my diet's finally starting to catch up to me a little bit, and losing a lot of energy. So time to rethink that a little bit, and I'm just kind of beat up, man.
I'm exhausted myself. What state are you in again?
Ohio. We've had single digits for the past week, and it's finally starting to actually get cold. The first day you're like, we'll get through it, and then it's just, I was down for so I had to go home last Friday, and I had get internet set up at my dad's new house that he's building, get my network stuff all connected, at least start it, and then a million projects at home to take care of, and then went down for my birthday to Columbus, went to a Blue Jackets game. Unfortunately, watched the Browns lose. Blue Jackets lost, and then hung out with my girlfriend down in Columbus for a couple of days, and then came back Tuesday morning.
So where is the University of Northwestern Ohio at?
Lima.
Okay.
About halfway between, but right in the middle of Dayton and Toledo.
Yeah, so I'm
45 minutes from Fort Wayne.
So I'm an hour from Fort Wayne. So
Okay.
So I'm an hour south of Fort Wayne on 69. So to get on 69, start heading south. I'm an hour from there. I used to, when I first started here, I actually worked in Fort Wayne, and I came down to Indy. But yeah, know exactly where you're at. So,
well, if anyone wants to kick me any sympathy, it's 52 degrees here.
Well, I don't want to hear it.
Okay.
Dude, it was negative. It didn't get above zero the other day here.
52 degrees. I'm in a t-shirt and shorts. Like that's nothing.
I'm a Floridian, man. I got my hoodie on.
Tampa guy, dude. He does this to us all the time in group chat. We're like, it's cold here, because I'm in Indiana, Dusty's Southern Indiana, and then Rich is South Carolina.
Carolinas, yeah.
I mean, it's cold there, but man, it's brutal right now across the entire country. But man, it didn't get above zero the other day. It was absolutely miserable.
And we're paying for it because we've had such a mild winter. You know what I mean? Like it
was nice. It was 60 degrees on Christmas.
But I'm a skier, so this has been killing me. We had no snow on the ground. They were like, they would open for a couple of days because they'd make enough snow, and then they'd close for a couple of days, and then they'd open for a couple of days, and then close. And it was like this back and forth. And now they're finally laying snow down. So I was gonna go the other day before I came on MLK Day before I came back up here, but it was like single digits, and it was like -20 with wind chill, and I was like, that's too cold for.
Nasty wants to know what your Croc status is. Brian says he thinks it's a hard no.
Croc, like the shoes?
Yeah.
Absolutely love them. There is no better shoe for bailing water out of a flooded apartment building at 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah, because you might as well just embrace the suck at that point.
I take my socks off and I've accepted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and any time I'm gonna be in any amount of water, as long as it's not anything harmful, I just throw a pair, roll my pants up and throw a pair of Crocs on.
I'm a Hey Dude guy. I don't have any Crocs, but I'll rock some Hey Dudes.
I rock my Hey Dudes most of the time for driving. Like I'll actually throw my boots in the passenger seat. Like if I have a long drive, which for my work, I'll drive for, hour, 2 hours to go to different sites. Because when we say we work in the field, usually that means for you guys, that's like at a restaurant or whatever. But there are times that for us, it is literally a cornfield. Like there's times we're literally doing environmental monitoring, like up against a river somewhere. But yeah, when I'm driving real long times, I'll take the boots off and throw on a pair of Crocs, or either Crocs or Hey Dudes.
See, I tried doing that in the van. Like if I had a long drive, I'd wear tennis shoes or something to be more comfortable. Yeah. Then I get out and I run to the restaurant and I'm like slipping and sliding. I'm like, oh shit, I got my tennis shoes on still. So,
Aiden, so when you do those environmental checks, what can you find out there in the field that you don't have to take back to get analyzed?
So we don't do. So what we do is we can do some of the sensors that we put out are things from a company called YSI that are like pH and turbidity and stuff like that. But most of what we do is flow monitoring, like how much water is moving through an area, and we can do everything from like we've actually done. There was this area. It was almost like a river that we took measurements. It was like 1 foot out, it was this deep. 2 feet out, it was this deep. 3 feet out, it was this, and developed a profile in the software, and then put a sensor that could tell the depth and how fast it was flowing, and that was able to calculate. That was a pretty cool job to see how we were able to take this just rocky riverbed and turn it into and we have different sensors to do things like that, but a lot of what we do is sampling. So we have these automatic vacuum samplers, and that's kind of my specialty in this. Is a vacuum in it, and then either based on how much flow or how much time has passed, it just has a tube that's hooked up to this chamber, pinches off the bottom, it sucks up water to a certain level, and then opens the bottom and drops it out into a sample container, and then it goes to a lab somewhere to be analyzed. We do, like I said, some basic pH and stuff like that, but for most of what we do, or we'll do like we'll have a rain head They'll measure how much rain and then how much flow, and then we can tell like it rained 2 inches and the river raised an average of a half an inch or an inch or a foot, whatever we can do things like that. But we don't do a lot of the analysis ourselves. That's there's actually a company that we partner with on like they'll do the analysis, and it's coming on Alloway Labs. That's a big lab here in Ohio. That the guy that owns it is this older guy that has a ton of money and a ton of cool ideas. And since he has all the money, he can implement these cool ideas he has. So he's created these trailers that we work with them on, that they have a flow meter, a sampler, and some mobile lab equipment, and they can just pull these up next to a site, and it's like a little lab on wheels that will help them set up the sensors and things, and then they'll take it from there.
So what you do, most of what you do is proactive, planned out, not reactive, like if there was a flood or a storm?
No, not really. I mean, we will do like we're kind of on the a lot of more the proactive side, but we've done things like I know the city of Baltimore, Ohio, we went there and we did in their storm sewers monitoring, so that way they could keep track of like how much water's flowing through their storm sewers, as when a rain event happens, how much water went through their storm sewers, and then that way they can kind of make a plan to improve their systems. And then a lot of the wastewater and stuff is just flow measurement and sampling to maintain EPA compliance, which, like, whether you're for or against the EPA, the stuff we work in, like making sure that sewage doesn't go into creeks, I think we can all agree that that's probably for the better, that they're around to make sure that, as much as the facilities guys there might not like it, we got to make sure that stuff stays.
Sure. There's always, people hate the bureaucracy of a lot of federal agencies, but they were all built on good premises and started. Yeah, they were all started for good reasons. But no, that's cool, man. That's pretty interesting. Good.
Nice. That's pretty cool. You gonna continue doing that once you start in HVAC, or haven't decided yet?
I haven't really decided. I know my boss was like Lower 48 on Instagram's his handle, and super nice guy. And I know we were kind of talking about, he was like, you need to focus and get your degree. But when you get out, if you want to spend like, a year, 6 months or whatever, just kind of, working for him, which I might do a little bit of that, just before I go full out in the field, just spend a little bit more time, just hanging out with him, doing some metering, sampling type stuff. And also the sampling and metering goes far beyond water, wastewater. I mean, we do, like I said, plants all over, right? We have some stuff coming up with some automotive plants, paper mills, food processing facilities. We do a lot of, which is, you want to talk about gross. The byproducts from food rendering is yikes.
It's our world, man.
Yeah.
I don't do very many food plants. There's a little bit here or there. We do. It's not really. They're not making food. They're not processing food. I've done some places where they make like the grab and go sandwiches for the gas station. I mean, if you don't know the secret, they're not made at the gas stations. They're pre-made, and they heat them up in things called speed ovens, which is really like a microwave oven on steroids. And they wrap them, throw them out there. So there's places that make that stuff. I've had to work in there, and it's pretty weird because like you got to suit up, and then like you got to stand in this chemical for so long. Then you got to go through and they spray you, and then like it's weird. It's wild.
Yeah, and I get these samplers back, and they're pretty rugged devices because they're designed to be they're industrial devices. They're designed to be, but no one can break them like the food rendering industry. I mean, I get them back, and there is chunks broken off of these that I'm like, unless you threw that down a flight of steps, there's no way that could have broken. And then we tell them how much it costs, and they're like, we get them back. I get them back like every 3 months. Versus there was one site that they called us, like, hey, we've had this for 12 years and never touched it. Is there anything we should do preventatively? And we're like, I guess we can, but like if it's working fine, why mess with it? Versus these guys are like, hey, 3 months, we need another one. And I'm like, how did you manage to break another one? But they do, so I don't ask,
Oh, it's the same thing we run into, man. You go into these restaurants, and some of the stuff is rugged, built. It's like they can't tear this up. And like 3 weeks later, you're in there like, how did you guys do this? I'm like,
I'm not even mad. I'm not even mad. I'm just kind of impressed. Like, can you show me what you did? Like,
it's amazing. I'm like, this is stainless steel. It's a steel plate, and you guys are trashed it. How? Oh, we didn't do anything. I'm like, no, you did something. I don't care. Someone did something. I don't care what you say. Someone did something.
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah. not really disappointed. It's like, I gotta fix this now. This sucks.
Yeah. I dabble in restaurant. The pizza shop that I worked for is my first ever job. I still help them out with their ice machines and dish machines. Those are still they called me one time. They're like, the pump for the rinse wasn't pumping on the the little peristaltic pumps, and I'm like, oh, if they let it run out, sometimes steam will make it back up to those little rubber hoses, and then I just pull the rubber hose out, lube up a new one, and slide it in. Well, I get there and I'm like, well, it's like halfway full and it's just not. And I hit it to like prime it, and it's just not pumping. And then I push the hose all the way down in the bucket, and I'm like, well, the hose was hanging an inch above the bucket. That's and they're like, oh. Well, maybe that's why. I'm like, oh, really?
Oh yeah, restaurant people, man. It's a wild world, man. I've met some of the smartest people in the world, and I've met some of the dumbest people in the world in the same exact restaurant. I'm like, well, in both cases, I'm like, why are you here?
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't get it. But I mean, to each his own, I guess. And a lot of people love working in restaurants. I mean, as far as like working at a restaurant, people like it. I mean,
I do miss the pizza shop time. That's like if I'm home for like I was home for New Year's Eve, and I was like, hey, do you care if I come back and work for a little bit? So they let me come back for make little cameos here and there, and they miss me. They want me back, but I'm other side of the state now, so can't really.
Sweet. So anything else you want to talk about, Jason, before we get out of here?
No, it's refreshing to talk to you, young man. That's all I wanted to say. Great conversation.
Aiden's my nephew's Aiden. So sorry. Aiden is a good kid, man. He's been in this community for a while, and the friendships he's made with a lot of people. He knows a lot of people. He interacts with a lot of people. He's always very supportive. I just like seeing someone, a young person getting involved and wanting to do a trade, and he committed to 2 years at the school, and I commend him for that. And I look forward to seeing what he's going to do when he comes out for sure, though.
Thanks. I look forward to seeing you on Sunday, man.
You
have any stickers made yet for yourself?
Yes, I have a whole pile of them sitting over there. Center.
Right, let's trade when we see each other then.
Yeah, I'll get those out to you guys at AHR.
All right. Well, have a good night, everybody. Yeah,
I'll see you guys.
See you. If you guys would, please consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing the podcast. It really helps us grow and helps us know which direction to move in. Also, if you have any suggestions for guests, please email me at commercialkitchenchronicles@gmail.com. Or if you want to be a guest, email me. Love to have you guys on. Thanks a lot. See you next week.